I'm Mari Cartel, LifeScript.com, and this is your Hollywood Health Report. Meningococcal meningitis is a bacteria that affects between 600 to 1,000 Americans yearly, mostly teens and young adults. And when it strikes, it can kill within 24 hours. There is a simple immunization, though it's still optional, and that's why I attended an awareness event with Olympic gold medalist Dara Torres, along with a grieving mother and a school nurse. Take a look at this three-part video. I'm wondering how much you knew about meningitis before you actually got involved with Voices of Meningitis.
Voices of Meningitis did a survey that showed 2 in 3 moms had little to no knowledge about the CDC's recommendation for vaccination to prevent meningococcal meningitis, and I just found that to be shocking.
It is shocking.
I mean, that's a lot of moms.
You actually had the experience of actually seeing somebody who had the illness. So tell me a little bit about that person in college, and tell me, did they make it?
They made it, and they caught it really early. We were all quarantined, we got tested to make sure we didn't have it, and then we were given antibiotics. I've been around some kids, I call them kids, some of them are in their 20s, but I'm so much older than them that I call them kids, who had contracted the disease. They've lost limbs. I only recently met a woman, Robin, who had lost her son to meningitis, and it's preventable. You know, considering I have an 8-year-old daughter and 2 14-year-old twin stepkids, I wanted to learn more about it and understand why vaccination was so important.
And you've gone ahead and done that with your daughter then?
No, my daughter's 8, so I will do that when she turns 11. The schedule that the CDC recommends is getting vaccinated at 11 years old and at 16 years old. The age is when you're most susceptible. You know, kids, they share utensils, they share water bottles, they're in close quarters, they kiss.
Okay, let me ask you about what you're going to be doing today,
okay,
because you're doing 24 laps, right?
I am. I'm very excited. So I'm traveling to different communities throughout the country, and I am swimming 24 laps that symbolizes how quickly meningococcal meningitis can possibly take a life. And as you know, although rare, it can kill a kid within 24 hours. And so we're swimming the 24 laps to sort of symbolize that, and I have to swim the whole 24 laps. The kids are doing relays, so they'll be swimming against me. I'm glad there's a lifeguard around to help me with a little CPR in case I need it, but it should be fun. I'm excited about it.
My son's name is Thomas James Kent. He was 19 years old when he passed away. He passed away on Christmas morning in 2005.
It sounds like he wasn't sick very long. You didn't suspect anything?
No, you know, just a few days prior to his passing, you know, he was an avid surfer. His symptoms were flu-like symptoms, exactly like you're told. And I guess the frustrating part about that is, if I would have known back then what the symptoms were, like I know now, I would have known it wasn't the flu. His symptoms were a stiff neck, you know, he was throwing up. He was very, very sick, very flu-like symptoms. And by the time he got to the hospital, that is when the purple rash appeared on him. And, you know, the doctors had come out and said, it's not going to be much time. So he went in at 5 in the afternoon, and he passed away at 1:02 in the morning.
On Christmas morning? On
Christmas morning.
That's horrifying.
You know, it was horrifying. That was my first reaction, is if this was going to happen, really, why would it be that day, the day that starts really in October, right? One grateful gift I've received out of it is, you know, when he was passing and I was in the room with him, you know, we all just wanted to leave. We couldn't watch him pass away. And there was a nurse who had grabbed me, and she said, you know, everyone else had left the room, her dad and sister, which is understandable. It was very difficult. And I was about to, and she grabbed me and said, you know, this is going to be the most defining day of your life, and I will not let you miss this. And she looked at me, and that compassion and comfort really is what, you know, got me to lay down there by him and put his head on my shoulder and rub his head, and he passed away in my arms. And I'm so grateful, you know, to this woman. I don't know who she is. I've never spoken to her since, but she really made a difference in my life. And, you know, for me to be able to, you know, have my son pass away in my arms is, you know, something I'll never forget.
I don't remember ever learning about this from their pediatricians.
Yes.
You know, how is it that we miss this?
Gosh, you know, you're so right about that. Let me tell you, it was so frustrating when I was in, you know, the room and the doctor had come out and said, you know, he has meningitis and he's going to pass. And I said, wait, I'm that mom. You know, I have my immunization record, I have the dates. There is no way that I missed this. And, you know, he looked at me, and I think it's painful for him to say this to me, you know, when he said this was optional vaccination. And I looked at him, and I clearly, as I'm sitting here today talking to you, looked at him and said, how can something that can kill my child be optional? Please explain that to me. And he didn't have an explanation. And you're right, there wasn't the awareness that there is nowadays, and still there's not enough awareness.
Did you blame yourself?
You know, I'll be honest with you, I did. I sat there as a mom, you know, thinking to myself, how did I miss that? How did I not, you know, see that on the news? Or and I did. I missed it, I guess, because it was optional. And, you know, I was so more focused on the here and now, what was supposed to happen. And I think, you know, honestly, when they get to be older and teenagers, as a mom, you don't lose control, but you don't pay attention, you know, as much as when they're younger. You're at that doctor visit and you've got it on the calendar. And when they get older, you're more worried. Honestly, for me, I can speak for myself, is, you know, getting hit by a drunk driver. I mean, that was really, I have to be honest with you, sitting here, that was the last thing on my radar as a parent to even have to worry about.
Should we be concerned about meningococcal meningitis in a swimming pool?
We should be concerned about meningococcal meningitis all the time. In the pool, whatever the kids are spending close time together, that's when we should be concerned about. Teenagers are at risk between the ages of 16 through 21 because they spend a lot of time together. They share their bottles, they share their kisses, hugging. We can tell them not to do that, but what we can tell them is to make sure that they get vaccinated, the meningococcal bacterial vaccination. Listen to your kids. Even if he survives meningitis, the consequences of meningitis are devastating. They can have amputations of fingers, amputations of toes. They can have brain damage, kidney damage, learning disabilities. So why do we have to expose our teenage populations to that?
Good to know that there is a vaccine to prevent this horrible illness. This has been your Hollywood Health Report from LifeScript.com. I'm Mari Cartel.